Welcome back, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Eddie Ryan, the Chief Executive Officer of Kneat. Kneat, it's a best-of-breed software company based in Ireland and trades in Canada and in the US on the OTC. Kneat's trailing 12-month revenue is just over $30 million, with last quarter's revenue up 46% year over year, a smidge faster than the quarter before. So what is driving the growth is the quest for digitization and automation by life science companies in their production processes. Most of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies use Kneat's software, and many have just begun and so are still in their early stages of rolling it out. Welcome, Eddie, to the Emerging Growth Conference today.
Hi, Anna. Thanks very much.
All right, we would love for you to give us an overview, talk a little bit about Kneat's beginnings and how it got to where it is today.
Great. Thanks, Anna. And before I start, just let me point you to our safe harbor statement. I may talk about future things here today and estimates and such. They're based on current knowledge and what we expect in the future, but these may not have happened in the future, just so that your audience is aware of that. So moving on, just to talk about the story of Kneat, I guess we started, Kneat comes from founders who grew up in pharmaceutical manufacturing. So we worked in pharmaceutical manufacturing for many years, myself and my first co-founder. And we worked in the whole area of building pharmaceutical manufacturing facilities, commissioning them, starting them up, validating them, and ongoing maintenance of them. So while we were doing that, we spotted the need for how to digitize the validation process. So validation is a mission-critical regulated process for this industry. And in order to manufacture a regulated product, you must ensure that all your systems, your equipment, your processes, your products, etc., will manufacture product to a high degree of quality. In order to do that, you must do validation of all these systems. And validation requires you to document the design and the testing of all your facilities, your equipment, your IT systems involved in the manufacturing of a product. So prior to our founding of Kneat, we actually did all this on hybrid doc management systems and paper. You always went to paper. So we saw the need for something that would end-to-end digitize this process. And we developed Kneat. And with Kneat, you never go to paper. It's all done electronically. But in order to do that, you must comply with a lot of strong regulations, such as that are governed by bodies such as the Food and the FDA and European Medicine Agency and the like. And that requires a lot of coding, and it's a complex problem. You have to show audit trail on all your data. You have to be able to sign for data electronically and all of that. So there's a lot of complex functionality in there. And that's one of the key USPs of Kneat, the ability to be able to be compliant with all these regulations. So taking it from there, we started coding Kneat in earnest in about 2007. We started launching our product into the marketplace after a lot of coding, re-engineering in 2014. And then we started to sign our first big customer in 2015/16. We went on to the Toronto Ventures Exchange. We merged with a shell company to access cash around 2016. And a few years ago, we upgraded to the major market in Toronto. So that's it in a nutshell, Anna, if there's further information you'd like on that.
Well, I would like to know who else is doing this in your space.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So there's, prior to us, I guess it was very limited, and it was primarily a doc management system, hybrid system, a combination of Microsoft Word, forms, paper documents, and a doc management system for managing the documents. So when Kneat came along, we digitized it fully, and there's other types of solutions coming and going in the space. The ones that are not surviving are ones that are not delivering enough value, business value to the organizations. So Kneat arrived and grew quite quickly after getting our first big customer. Today, we can count 10 of the top 10 biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world as our customers. There's a list here that talks about the top 20. The majority of these companies are customers of Kneat. They've selected Kneat for their validation process worldwide. It's a corporate selection. And so they're rolling it out globally. So as we go forward, we see competitors come and go. And there are some that stick around. And when it comes to, so we'll call it large deals, it gets down to probably two companies, ourselves and one of our competitors. And typically we win the key deals. And that's down to the fact I spoke about earlier, the USP that's in Kneat, the ease of use that Kneat gives to its users, and the fact that it's developed for scale, performed at scale with the regulated capabilities built in to the application.
Talk a little bit about the demand for this. So how many companies actually need this kind of software? How big is your market, and how big could Kneat potentially get within it?
Very good question. So like the key thing for us when we look at our customer base today, we see in our white space with our existing customers an annual recurring revenue of over $50 million with our existing customer base. So if our salespeople were to stop selling, we would see that if we continue to scale our customers. It's important to say that our product is a land and expand product. We entered the company for one validation process, and we scale it to multiple validation processes when we're in there. And the goal being to scale across all their sites. There's a case study on our website. It's the Merck case study authored by Merck. It talks about how Kneat scaled from the first site to across 30 sites to thousands of users over a 2.5-year period. So when we make announcements on a regular basis of strategic customers, we don't announce smaller customers that we win. So we serve small biotech companies to big pharma companies. And we announce the critical the strategic customers because we believe they have a big upside for Kneat into the future from a license perspective. So when we announce them, investors should understand that that might be a small revenue initially, but it grows to multiple millions over time as we scale to all these additional use cases within the validation space and across to different sites within their organization. And as we do that, we add on license revenues as we go forward. So that's the land and expand model. So I spoke about, on the left-hand side of this diagram, you can see, and I spoke about the 50 million in annual recurring revenue with our customers today. So when we look at the space that we're competing in right now, we call it the life sciences space. It consists of customers who are the core being the manufacturers of therapies, medical devices, pharmaceutical products, and the like. And you've got chemical, health, and personal care products also. So we have customers in all segments of this vertical. So we have customers on the manufacturing side, we have big customers on the supply chain side, engineering companies, IT service providers, equipment vendors, etc. And we also have big customers on the distribution side who are responsible for taking product to the pharmacy's point of sale and the like. So when we look at the overall market that we're operating in, we see that as a $2 billion in annual recurring revenue. When we look beyond that and we look at where our customers want us to go, so this is in the validation space that we're working in right now, e-validation we also call it. When we look beyond that to adjacent areas that our customers are looking to take our product to, we see that market over 3 times as big, over 7 billion in annual recurring revenue. When we go beyond the validation space within life sciences, we go to adjacencies within life sciences. And our customers, as I said, are asking us to go there at this point in time, but we're staying focused on our core right now, where we are leaders and we want to consolidate our leadership position. So when I talk about Kneat, Kneat is a very intelligent data-driven documentation system. So you can configure your solution on the Kneat platform. That's one of the key advantages of Kneat as well. And, so you can, we see, anywhere there's, demand for good document management, good documentation practice, and good data management and data integrity is a candidate for Kneat in the future. So we see anyone who has a complex workflow process that can be configured on Kneat. So outside of Kneat, we see additional verticals down the road.
So speaking of down the road, how should we think about the go forward from here? I see that Kneat's not yet profitable. When is that day coming?
Yeah, okay. So just one other thing, just for your audience to let them know, the space is a very large space in validation alone. We spoke about the 2 billion. When we look at that, we see multiple use cases. And all these use cases are there for Kneat to satisfy right now. So as we go through with these land and expand with these big customers, we're scaling out to all these use cases, these processes that I have on the screen in front of me there. So we just want to join the customer with one process, and over time we will scale them to multiple processes. So when we take someone like Merck, who's like 10 or 12 of these processes already scaled across 30 sites. That gives you the size and the amount of work and the amount of opportunity that's in our current customer base. So when we're looking at the future of Kneat, obviously we have, I'm just going to put up a slide there for you. So we've had a very strong growth in our over the last number of years. And one of our key metrics is annual recurring revenue growth. So if you look at over the last some years, if you look at Q3 2020 up to Q3 2023, our last reported quarter, you can see our annual recurring revenue has grown tenfold, from 3.8 million Canadian dollars to 31.4 Canadian dollars today. And I guess that 31.4 talks about as of the end of Q3 2023, the contract revenue that we have with our customers for the year ahead. The other thing I would like to say is that NRR, net revenue retention, is another very important metric for Kneat. And we report that at the end of each year. And when we look at the end of 2022, our NRR was 158%. That's a really, really strong NRR. Talks about the expansion of our existing customer base. It talks about that land and expand model that I've been highlighting as I went through the presentation. So when we look down and we look at our margins and that as we move through the years, so we can see that our gross margins have been increasing. And this is down to the fact that Kneat has, back in a few years ago, Kneat was more of an on-prem solution. And we've changed Kneat over to a pure play SaaS solution and moved on with our customers. And these margins are what you'd expect from a SaaS company as it grows into a quality SaaS company. And they are ticking up as we speak. So so when we look back, also we had the advantage of scale, starting small and scaling and getting more optimization from our team as we go forward. So we're tacking up where you'd expect a good pure play SaaS company to be. So when we look back at the year and a half gone by, we doubled the size of our team to approximately 300 people in the last year and a half. And we see that as a very strong capacity. And we are growing into that team now. And we look through 24, we see, we're optimistic that that team is sufficient to deliver the growth we expect. So as we go forward, we see our margins continue going up. And we also see our total costs going down relative to revenue, because the cost in essence will stay flat. So with that information, we have line of sight on profitability in the foreseeable future. So so that's it.
Well, talk a little bit about how discretionary is Kneat's software for a life sciences company. It seems like you're really onto something.
Absolutely. And so, there's been companies coming and going over the last number of years trying to solve this problem. And a lot of them haven't made it because they haven't offered enough business value to the customer. Kneat has come along and has ticked all the boxes. So basically, we're saving the company 50% of the man hours associated with these owners' validation activities. We're saving them 50% of the time to get the documentation processes completed. That's time to market for them. We're also giving them a higher standard of compliance, and that's de-risking their business. When we're saying that the head of quality can see the status of every system worldwide across all these manufacturing sites, that's the kind of reassurance he has that everything's been done in right first time in real time, and they can have a report on everything at the tip of their fingers. And when the auditor walks into the room in a few years, the FDA auditor walks in a few years' time or whenever, then that information is available to be pulled back in real time, unlike today where it may take days to get that record to show the auditor that you complied with the regulations at the time you did the work. So it's mandatory. And I've had people, I speak to my customers all the time, and they tell me we can't survive in paper anymore or anything near paper. We have to digitize. And it's part of the overall program. Every CEO has an objective to be digitalized. And Kneat is part of that. Today, Kneat is what I would say a pillar of their IT landscape. And for that reason, we're now in the process of integrating with all the other pillars in their landscape. and we're becoming more and more ingrained in their organization. And the reason that's happening is because Kneat is proven to deliver the value. It's a mature product and a mature company, and the service capabilities are second to none from Kneat. So yeah, it's mandatory for them, and in a nutshell.
Eddie, talk a little bit about the market share. Break that down for us.
Yeah, so the market share, I guess when you look at, it's a $2 billion market right now that we're playing in. And today we have a line of sight of 50 million, in our current customer base. We have a strong pipeline. Our salespeople continue to add significant customers to our pipeline. And, in the recent past, we have announced, significant customers. If your investors are following our announcements, we're also announcing customers in the consumer products goods side of the business, which is also applicable to us, and we have traction with them. So, it's small in today. Most of the companies are still, in hybrid paper-based systems, Anna, and I would say, it's probably 5%, today of the overall market.
And what about Kneat's win rate? What would that be?
Yeah, well, I would say Kneat's win rate is, typically 100% when it comes to key wins. Strategic wins, key customers, we win most of the key deals. I will say that this is a very, this industry is very, they share. This industry helps each other when it comes to tools and the like for helping them to be compliant and, do their business better. So when they know the value is being delivered, they recommend. So they're kind of a follow me industry, and from that perspective, and Kneat has a huge reputation. And in actual fact, our existing customers are our best salespeople to all intents and purposes, right? Or, well, I wouldn't say our best, great salespeople. And it's very much, if you're dealing and you're successful and your ROI is understood by the industry, it travels very quickly. And, so when we meet new customers and we can tell them about all the great logos that are using Kneat successfully, and they can talk to all those customers, it's very easy to win the deals.
Well, it seems applicable to so many businesses. Talk a little bit about your customers. What does customer attrition look like?
So we have, to all intents and purposes, I say we have zero churn, zero attrition. We're a very sticky product. We're allowing these companies to manage their regulated data that needs to be there for years to come into the future and needs to be available quickly when an audit happens. And that's very sticky. And, if you're, we are displacing competitors of ours as well. And there's a number of case studies, Anna, on our website that your audience might want to refer to. One I spoke about Merck, but there's others that talk about the competitors of Kneat and talk about how they're getting the value over and over again. So just to say, as I said, our NRR is very high, and there's maybe one or two small customers that have gone out of business, and that's the only churn we have. Other than that, there is no churn.
Does Kneat plan to make acquisitions?
So not at the immediate time. There's no plans right now. But if there's a good business case and there's a good ROI and we can accelerate our vision, we have a very strong vision for the company that takes us way out into the future. We're working hard towards that, and it gives us great satisfaction to be able to tell the investors that we meet on a regular basis that we are executing. We said we would do this, and we are delivering on that. So acquisitions, they may become relevant to us. We would certainly do them if we could accelerate the returns for our customers and our investors.
And Eddie, talk about what is driving gross margin improvement, and will that continue?
Yeah, so gross margin improvement is driven by the fact that we are transitioning to a pure play SaaS company. We are now a pure play SaaS company, fully available software on a SaaS environment. And that brings down your cost of sales. And, in the past, we would have had more on-prem, which was a higher cost of sales. We're also becoming more optimized as we go forward. That our teams are, more, I guess, fully engaged and able to deliver more. So we're able to deliver more and keep the cost of revenue down, So I think it's all of those, moving to a SaaS company, getting more optimized and efficient as a company ourselves, and the goods starts, you know, and the PS revenue also, you know, being more optimized.
Rogelio wants to know, who is regulating your products and what does that do to your production of future facilities? Plus, what approvals are needed? Give us a time frame.
Yeah, so regulating our product, you know, so when our customers are purchasing from us, they come and audit everything about us. So if we had a Merck coming to buy us, you know, today, they would spend 3 days auditing everything we do. How we design, develop, test our software, how we deliver it, how we support it, how secure it is, you know, all of these things. Really detailed audits so that they can be reassured that the product they're buying from the company they're buying is something they can live with in the long term, and that it's going to enable them to be compliant with the regulations that they must adhere to, such as the FDA, Food and Drug Administration regulations, that good manufacturing practice that they must be able to adhere to. So they need to be able to trust the product that they're buying to do that, and that they can configure their business solutions on that product to give them compliance. So we're not directly, you know, audited by the FDA, but we're audited indirectly by the customer who has to stand over the solution they're using to do their regulatory records on that. I hope that answers the question.
It does. Victor Wozniak asks a little bit about deployment. Why does it take so long for a customer, once they have implemented Kneat at one plant, to roll it out to all their plants for all required validations? Can you break that down?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's probably, you know, 10, 12, 14 different use cases or different validation processes. Equipment validation might be one, cleaning validation might be another, method validation might be another. So a customer of ours might start, you know, with a lead process or maybe two on one site or two sites. That's often the way they start. It's a corporate decision. They go through due diligence to identify what product they want, and then they take it on. So initially, it's a regulated product in itself. So we install the system, and then they have to validate Kneat so that they can now trust it going forward as a digital system for managing all their data. So it'll take 4 to 6 months to get the first process live. And then when that's live, they'll start saying, okay, now we want to configure a new process. And that third process would be something that would be process engineering time involved, can be from Kneat or from our partners, or they can do it themselves if they're trained up on the product. But there's no coding involved whatsoever. So they can add on a new process in 2 months, and then they just have the time to scale that to a new site. It's just about training the users on the new site on the process that has been set up. And their goal is to harmonize each process across all their sites as quickly as they can. Some companies will do it in 2 to 3 years. Some companies will do it in 3 to 5 years. It's just an inertia that you can have sometimes with some companies giving more autonomy to sites and the like. But from our perspective, every one of our big companies are all on that journey. As I said, Merck is very advanced on that journey with thousands of users across 30 sites. And we have others with maybe 500 users starting out on the journey, and everybody in between. But just to safely say that if we sign a new customer tomorrow and we announce that it'll be a strategic customer, you can assume that customer is going to give revenues to Kneat into the future, but it may start small, and the first revenue will be, you know, acknowledged maybe 6 months after announcing the customer. And then from there on, that customer will be adding to our additional ARR as we go forward.
Talk a little bit more about that. Sean wants to know, are all your different services for a particular client sold as a package, or are there multiple revenue verticals?
Yeah, so the revenue verticals, the key revenue for us is annual recurring revenue. Our key metric is we want software licenses. We're a product software company. We do have some services to support the deployments and the consultancy associated with our customers. But by and large, we're all about customer success, customer success, expanding with those customers to more and more processes. So when we see, you know, a large company can have 10,000 users with 12 processes across their sites worldwide. That's 10,000 individual licenses. That's for validation alone. So that's approximately 10% of the employees of an organization. That's what's there for us in our customer base that's there right now. We won't see all that day one. We'll see it as they expand. And as they get to a certain place, they'll decide, we want to do an enterprise license. You know, we'll work with a tier so far, and then we'll say, no, we want to get an enterprise license, and they try to do a deal on an enterprise license. And that's how it evolves. So the main revenue stream is software licenses for Kneat. That's what we're all about. And we have professional services to support our customers. We have all those other functions that help our customers as well in customer success and technical support. That's our main revenue.
Thank you for that. Kyle Monroe says your sales are up 50% on each of the 3 and 9 month periods. So is that growth sustainable? And if so, how long will it be to be cash flow positive?
Yeah, so good question. And I touched back on what I said earlier on. We're dealing with really big pharmaceutical companies here, right? And, the earlier stages of our life cycle is about, being able to develop as much software as quickly as we can so that we can be accepted by these companies to scale our software globally across their organization. Right? That's a big ask from a software company. So that's about growth all the way to get yourself in a position where you can satisfy these customers. And that's what we've traditionally been doing, And as we go forward, as I said, we're growing into the team. We doubled the size of our team. We put 150 people on our headcount in the last year and a half, a year and a quarter. And we're growing into those teams now. And we're confident that that team is sufficient, and there won't be a huge amount of hiring into 2024. So we can, just to answer the question in a nutshell, we see profitability is in our sights, and how we approach that, and what we decide to do based on ROI will dictate when we hit it.
Thank you for that answer. Trevor Payne asks about your recent deal with the global consumer healthcare leader. He's assuming you're not allowed to disclose their name. Is it a typical deal? What are your margins, and what do you typically make on a deal like that?
Yeah, very good. So first of all, yes, we're not allowed to announce them, because of the contracts we have. And, so the key thing is the margins are very strong. They're SaaS margins, right? And we expect to be a very strong, profitable company once we turn that corner and move into profitability. So as I said, the gross margin is typically, running over 70% at the moment and rising. And we're bringing down the overall cost as we scale the company as well. So we will continue to build strongly on that. I will say that, we are selling quality. We put a lot of effort and a lot of cost into building a great product. We don't outsource any development to any other countries. We do it all in-house. And it's all about the quality. These are regulated companies. They're risk averse. They want right first time, and they won't tolerate poor quality software. So we put a lot of effort into that, but we charge for our software, We won't give it away at a low cost. So the margins are good from that perspective, and, we see them getting stronger as we go forward.
Eric Carrier says, in your quest for higher growth, how do you balance this objective versus profitability? And more precisely, is there a revenue level where investors can envision to see recurring quarterly profits?
Yeah, I think that I go back to the same thing again, right? Is that, the key for us is that we are growing into our team. Our cost line is level. It's going to go down relative to revenue. If you look at our financials, you'll see then, the cash balance, and you'll see what's needed to make the company profitable. But, it's well within line of sight, just to say, if we continue the way we're going and we continue to grow as we're growing, profitability is not too far away.
Andrew Lifey wants to know, any M&A in the near future?
Not in the near future, right? Immediately. We're always interested in what's available, what we can, add to our company if there's a good ROI to actually accelerate our vision. I will say that, we'd be careful about taking things on board as long as we, we don't want to dilute our vision. We don't want to distract ourselves from our vision. We don't want to move left and right. We want to be very clear. We have a very clear, strong vision. The vision for this company is to be a great company that's around for a long time. And that's what we're working towards. And we have a couple of horizons built into that. So if we see something that has acceleration capability there and the ROI is clear, we will actually go after it.
Katie Keita asks, do you see Viva as a threat to Kneat?
Viva has advertised in the past that it's going to enter this space, the validation space, but we haven't seen anything on the ground. And, our customers are expanding our software all the time, and we're adding new customers, and we're not seeing them in the final bidding process. It's us and another company that gets to the final. We don't see Viva there. We hear that they're bringing a solution, but we don't see anything at this point in time. So we're not actually, well, we're concerned about everybody, but we're more concerned about doing our great thing ourselves, delivering on the ground and executing to our plan and delivering on our vision. That's what is priority to us, and making sure we give great quality software. It took us, as I said, 7 years to get anywhere near a minimum viable product. This was not an easy product to develop. This is complex. And unless you do it, we did it from the ground up by pharmaceutical people, 3 co-founders, myself and Kevin, they came out of pharmaceutical manufacturing. And we brought in Brian, who's an IT person. So what I'm saying there is that, this is not an easy one to follow. This is a lot of hard effort gone in to get to baseline. We're beyond baseline, we're early in our journey, but we have a huge vision. And that's it, really.
That's a great way to end, Eddie. Thank you so much for your presentation. Great product, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future with some updates.
Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you very much to your audience. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you all. We'll be right back with our next presenter.